Good morning. Welcome to Viewpoint. On behalf of Bill Gossett and Mr. Loyd Kirby, bringing you the interesting things running around the county, somewhere between Rockford and way down south in Cairo. Viewpoint always tries to open up with a kudo or two, and I want to be serious about this. The old man got in bed late last night because he went to Springfield to welcome the honor flight men home. Great experience. And the reason I mention this, and I want to be very specific about this, is we have two people here in Logan County who have served, the family serves the honor flight very capably down through the years. Aaron and Joyce Leisman always make sure that the old man gets to go down to the Springfield with them. Their son, Adam, is in charge of the honor flight when it's in the air and out in Washington, D.C., and yesterday, Adam had an unusual experience on the flight. Inevitably, if you do things long enough, things are going to happen. And sure enough, a gentleman died on the airplane as they went to Washington. 78-year-old Vietnam veteran, as I understand it. And so that certainly had to muddy up the waters for Adam Leisman and his associates there. Yeah, maybe somebody doesn't know what the heck the honor flight is. Maybe I'll just take about 30 seconds, Loyd. Years ago, I'll tell you how long ago it was, whenever the World War II Memorial just opened up. And there was a doctor over in Ohio seeing a patient of his, and the Great World War II Memorial had just opened up to the public after considerable prodding and pushing by Senator Bob Dole. That was kind of his baby, and thank him for that. In any event, Dr. Phillips said to his patient, "Well, George," or whatever his name was, "are you going to get to see your new memorial out in Washington?" And the patient said, "Oh, I couldn't do that, I couldn't afford it," and so forth. And this doctor got to thinking about that. He had his private pilot's license and did a lot of flying himself. And before it was all said and done, he called some of his flying associates and explained the situation. The first honor flight out of the way was 2 or 3 airplanes went out there taking men from that immediate area that they had got to put the word out. Since then, the honor flight has grown exponentially. It's all over the country. And the Land of Lincoln Honor Flight is situated down in Springfield. A wonderful bunch of volunteers administer that. And it takes a lot of money to get those airplanes in the air. And Joyce and Aaron Leisman came up with, maybe it was Joyce came up with the idea, we'll give her the idea anyway, of buying small flags. And she proceeded to do that online, got a bunch of small flags on sticks, and she and Aaron manned the doors at the Springfield terminal, now south door and the north door, and they put up a little table there, and had these flags for sale, and the amount that they get per flag is just voluntary. Some people drop in a couple of bucks, some people drop in $20. Last night, free will offerings like that, they gathered over $600. And Joyce and Aaron have been doing that for a long time, so kudos to them, and kudos to them, Loyd, for getting me down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're very gracious about that. They always call me in advance, so the old man appreciates that. I could go down myself, except Jesse White said I was too old to drive at night. You know, upon reflections, and I mean this seriously, you older drivers out there, I think he was right. And so I didn't appeal that at all. I just accepted that. Well, that's part of aging. And but the Leismans make sure the old man gets down there, and I appreciate that very much. We have a guest who's come all the way from Lincoln, Illinois.
How about that?
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, and he found this place up here on County Road 2250. So let's introduce our guest this morning, Loyd.
Yeah, joining us is Dave the Baker, David Carter, going to tell us about his background and the culinary delights he makes up for the folks at Christian Village, among other places, I believe.
That's right.
All right. So, Dave, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I had the idea. Mrs. Gossett and I have been happy campers at the Christian Village from the day we moved in out there. We live in one of the duplex apartments, and one of the pluses out there is they offer nice meals. The noon meal being the main one for the day, of course, and that's how I got acquainted with David. They do a great job, and those of us who make use of that facility at noon. And how about the early morning and the evening crowds? Do you have any people at all,
yeah.
David?
Oh yeah, we got a lot of people. Well, a whole lot of people that come for the evening meal generally. Not so many for breakfast, but we've got a dedicated following.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, I had the idea. It's kind of interesting, and I found out that David, is, by avocation, is not only by vocation and avocation a cook, and he also, if I understand correctly, you put out some goodies at Sorrento's restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Well, not at the restaurant itself, but I've been baking through there to sell a variety of stuff at the farmer's market.
I see. Oh, yeah, very good, very good. Well, we want to give Sorrento's a little tip of the hat, too, this morning. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, definitely appreciate her letting me use the space. I would not have been able to do anything like that if Sorrento's hadn't been there for me.
Now, cooking for a group like a bunch of old people at the Crested Village, and I say that with respect. I want to be careful about that. That's a different than Malloy's restaurant on Chicago Street. That's a little different cooking situation. Now, our great dame, I call her the grand dame out there, Julie King. She has the overall responsibility for ordering and so forth, and you sit down with her to plan meals. And how's it work that you put such decent food out for us each day?
Well, I mean, as far as meal planning goes, we actually have a couple of sets of menus that we work off of that we'll change stuff around on, do seasonal stuff, special meals, or just decide, hey, we haven't had this in a while, let's put that on there somewhere. But yeah, other than that, it's just a matter of, you see what's on the menu for the day, and then make sure you actually got it in the fridge, and then start cooking it. Julie's always been pretty nice about, we don't have to follow real specific recipes or anything. We can just, cook the way we like, which it's been a lot of fun because it lets me try out a lot of different stuff. It's like, hey, we've got, chicken succotash, but why not make it with ham? I don't know. But yeah, in particular though, I've had a lot of fun doing baking as far as the desserts, and also like yeast breads. I know everybody gets all excited on Sunday because I'll make a big batch of potato dinner rolls. Those always go over well. That's actually kind of how I segued into doing the farmer's market stuff, was just doing a lot of stuff out there and be like, hey, bread baking's fun. I wonder if I could make a job just out of that. But yeah, other than that, it's just, try and keep your finger on the pulse of what people like, what they dislike. I know a lot of people kind of turn up their noses at spicy stuff, but then some other people are like, oh no, we like that, it's actually got flavor. It's like, oh, okay, well, it's a balancing act of trying to figure out what people like and what, try to avoid the things that'll make people annoyed with you.
It's generally a good philosophy in life, I think. So how do you do that as far as finding that balance? I mean, if you like using the spicy food, for example, if you've got a certain segment that likes it, a certain segment that doesn't, do you maybe offer a couple options on that particular day, a spicy and non-spicy, or how does that work?
We've usually got two options. So if somebody's, liver and onions is a good example. About half of our people absolutely love it, and they'll come back for seconds. The other half absolutely hate it and won't even touch it. So, you always got to make sure you got an alternate on liver and onion day.
I've gone full circle on that. When I was a kid, my mother would fix that, and I didn't like it at all. Well, now I really enjoy it. So. But how far in advance do you have to plan, David?
Well, we've got a menu for the whole month that we kind of work on that at the end of the month and then get printed up. And we've got a schedule that we send out to everybody so they know what's coming. As far as, like ordering and stuff, I think we order twice a week and have to plan about a week ahead of time. And then if we got like a special meal or something, I like to, whenever we got a holiday or something, try and just go off menu and make something appropriate. Actually, something you should watch out for. We're doing an Oktoberfest meal here, probably in the next couple of weeks, something like that. But yeah, that, I'll need to order some special stuff, or I'll need to, make a trip to Walmart or wherever it takes to get that. But again, probably about a week ahead of time.
I'd like to add, ladies and gentlemen, not only do you get served in the congregate building out there, some folks have infirmities and aren't able to get around very much or as easily as they'd like to, and they will hand deliver meals to you folks in their various rooms or their duplexes. And I think that's a very, very nice thing for some people who, well, it's their nutrition for the week. So
Yeah, it is real important that we get those out to everybody.
I'd like to mention Peggy Huffman.
Yeah.
She circulates around in that dining room, very, very gracious and very courteous, and really a nice lady. And I'm sure she's an adjunct to you as far as working in the kitchens is concerned.
You're never going to find somebody that works harder than Peggy. It's kind of ridiculous.
And she's gracious with it.
She's been working there, I want to say something like 20 years at this point. And yeah, she really knows her stuff. I mean, who has better cooking? I'm not going to make that distinction, but but yeah, I love Peggy. She really makes it a joy to work out there.
Well, she makes it easy for the folks who are at the tables. Run and get a cup of coffee or a glass of water or tea or whatever, and she's just around to help people. So let me take my hat off, which I don't have on, but I'm going to.
I'll take my hat off.
You doff your hat to Peggy Huffman, so and your other associates out there. You know, they say it's that old expression. It takes a village. It takes more than a village in a kitchen like David Carter's place of employment there. There are a lot of folks with nutritional needs, and they have to be careful about that. And they're well cared for at the Christian Village, let me tell you.
Yeah, we don't have to worry too much about nutrition stuff because we're independent living, so technically we're not really even supposed to worry about that. But if somebody says, oh, well, I need to eat light salt, or, I don't eat chicken or whatever, we try and work around that as much as we can. We've not had too many people where that's been much of an issue. I had one lady that she basically couldn't have any kind of seasoning on anything.
On anything?
It was just plain meat, white rice, That was a little bit challenging trying to figure out something she could eat, but we figured it out.
648-5510. Some of you folks out there in the listening land might have an associate, a family member that's a part of our great extended family at the Christian Village. Julie King does and administrative staff that you have out there. They do a great job of day-to-day exercise and taking care of things. For instance, now we just came up with a phone problem. She'll be on top of that, and she'll make sure that we get out there. Loyd not only took my phone down, but it took my computer down, so I was dead in the water.
Oh, that's no fun. So I know when my mom worked at the Lincoln Courier, she had an associate who used to specifically drive to Springfield to Memorial Hospital, I think it was, because he loved the food at the cafeteria there. Is that something at the Christian Village? Like, can members of the public come in and eat there, or is it just open to residents and their families?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just residents and their families. It might be a little awkward if we just had a line forming from off of the street or whatever.
It sure would. And the natives would be really restless. Is there one particular problem that confronts you as you get out of your bed and go to work and plan for the day in your head as you're going to work? Is there anything that disturbs you or gets your attention more than other things, David?
Just in life in general, or just the job?
Well, life in general is going to cover something.
Yeah, that's going to cover
a lot. We go to Washington, D.C. for that.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty good job. I can't really complain about much of anything. Yeah, no, I got nothing, man.
Yeah.
So as far as planning those meals out, I have absolutely no clue about any of this, but are there particular, like I know the independent care living probably has certain rules and regulations they have to abide by. Are there any certain like nutritional guidelines or anything that you specifically have to do or not do?
Again, not really. They're pretty casual about it. I mean, it's not like in the main nursing home where they got a set number of people and they've got to have a dietitian on staff to make sure everything lines up with that. we're basically just an apartment building that happens to offer lunch. So as far as that goes, it really just comes down to what we like to make and what people like to eat.
I'd like to add, too, listeners, that the Christian Village here in Lincoln is not a standalone. That's a part of the greater Christian Village concept. For instance, they have a facility in Springfield. They have a facility in Decatur. They have one down south that I can't remember the name of the community down there now. But it's all under corporate administration. That is not. They don't reside in Lincoln. They're in Springfield, and or perhaps further south. Perhaps in St. Louis. Is there? I believe there's a corporate office in St. Louis.
Something like that.
I'm pretty sure about that. But it's listen, folks. Lincoln is really lucky to have a facility such as Christian Village and St. Clair's Manor for that place. Think of many years back when they just warehoused old people.
Yeah.
So we've come quantum leaps since then, and thank goodness people like myself and Mrs. Gossett are able to take advantage of it's really a nice place to live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what we were always working towards.
We're talking with David Carter, a.k.a. Dave the Baker, from Christian Village, among other places. So what is a typical day like for you as far as once you get out of bed? How early does your day start, and what kind of things happen during the day, throughout your day?
Well, I'm either working in the morning or the evening. Morning, I gotta get there by about 7. I got like 4 or 5 people that they all want their bacon and eggs or whatever. And then once they're all done with that, just kind of start working on, look at the menu, see what we've got, pull up a recipe for it, and like, okay, well, we're having, I keep trying to think of food. My mind goes blank. What the heck? Well, lasagna. We're having lasagna. So, get all the stuff ready for that. Get the sauce going. Get the noodles going. Cheese, all that stuff, and get that in the oven. Depending on how much time I have, maybe I'll make some garlic bread from scratch. Maybe I'll just grab the stuff out of the freezer. Do a couple of vegetables to go with it. Lasagna is pretty popular, so I might just do that by itself, but maybe I'll do an alternate just in case we were expecting a lot of people or something. Right around 11 or so, our evening person shows up, and they help with lunch. We get everything all ready to go, get everybody all served out in the dining room, do a bit of a cleanup, and finally get to sit down and take our lunch break right around 1:30 or so. And then if I'm working in the morning, I'll just finish up whatever needs finishing, do some paperwork and all that, and then head out at about 3. If I'm working in the evening, I'll have helped the morning person the whole time, starting at 11, and then as soon as that's all cleared out of the way, I'll take a look. Okay, we usually have like a soup and a sandwich for dinner, so I'll throw some stuff in the pot for the soup. I'll start pulling together stuff for the sandwiches. Somewhere in there, I gotta make a batch of cookies because, due entirely to my own fault, we have to make a batch of cookies every night for supper. I just did that as a one-time thing, and everybody got all excited about it. So now I've been baking a batch of cookies every night for like 5 years.
648-5510. We're going to need to take a couple of minutes here and recognize some very important people on the Viewpoint program, our sponsors. Go right ahead, Mr. Ash. Right back live in the studios here at WLCN 96.3 FM on your dial each Wednesday morning at 8:15 to 0900 hours would be your listening hours. Do you get a call in?
Well, the phone's ringing, and Mr. Ash picked it up.
All right.
Hopefully it's someone for the show here.
Want to talk to our guest?
And it sounds like we do have a call.
All right. Here's your headset, sir.
Well,
Yeah, I'll put that on.
Mr. Ash still, while he's checking in with the caller, we want to remind folks about the American Cancer Fundraiser happening Thursday, October 6th at Collision Concepts. It's the Pink Pumpkin fundraiser for the American Cancer Society. That happens October 6th out at Collision Concepts, 1005 Macon Street, next door to Culver's in Lincoln. Doors open at 5 p.m. and then the silent auction runs from 5 p.m. until 6:15, followed by the live auction, which kicks off around 6:30. Of course, it is the Pink Pumpkin auction with all the proceeds going to the American Cancer Society, or the American Cancer Logan County Relay for Life. And folks are interested in sponsoring that or finding out more about it. One of the ladies we had in the studio last week, Karen Hargis, can be reached at 217-737-7418.
Once again, volunteers stepping up. Caller, go right ahead, please.
I just want to say that David's desserts are blue ribbon every time.
Blue ribbon. All right.
Blue ribbon. And especially his coconut cream pie.
Yeah, I think I know who this is.
Yeah, I do too, David. Neighbor, good morning.
How we doing today?
You're the best, David.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for calling in. Well, that's what the folks
Thank
who
you.
eat out at the Christian Village get every day. Some specials, and every day is a good day. Go ahead. Thank you for mentioning the cancer thing. October the 6th, I believe that card said. That's very, very important to those who are involved in that particular charity. And all charities need volunteers. And this in particular, this goes to the heart of a lot of people. And so thank you, Karen and Nyla, for coming in to reminding us that we need to do our job. David Carter, because Dave the Baker. How did you get that nickname, that moniker, David?
I mean, it was one of those things where I was literally just trying to think of a name for my business. Originally, I was going to go with like Dobros or something like that, but purely because there was a bunch of other places already named that, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to use that name. The farmer's market's tomorrow. They need a name. Let's go. My name's David. I'm a baker. Dave the Baker. Good enough. But it was a surprisingly good move, though. I think the name really stuck, and my cousin helped me make a logo that's like a combination of my hat and glasses. And yeah, I think it was actually a really good move, as it turns out.
The only thing we need is a T-shirt for him, Loyd.
There you go.
Well, actually, my sister is she's doing art classes down in Springfield, and she said she's gonna see if she can't make me a couple of T-shirts like that. So yeah, keep an eye out.
That's a good thing. That's good. Day to day, is there one problem that pops up that you haven't kind of blindsided you?
As far as the baking goes, well, just generally my lack of experience working in really large batches was a bit of a problem at first, because I've been baking for years and years and years. My mom was always really into cooking and whatnot, and we entered in 4-H, the county fair and the state fair and all that kind of thing. So I've had lots of experience with regular baking, but when you upscale that to making one batch of cinnamon rolls versus 15 all at once, all of a sudden everything's got to be handled a little bit differently. The way you proof your bread, the way you mix your ingredients, just like you can't just take a recipe and multiply it by 12. It requires a little bit of finagling. That was more than a little challenging to figure out at first.
David, I think we need a shout out here where there's an incident that happens every Saturday to Logan County Fairgrounds. The Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital Association has sponsored this county, what's the name of it for?
The farmer's market?
Farmer's market. Mm-hmm. The old man's lost it again. Once again. Well, I'll be back, folks. Farmer's markets, I've wandered through there, and I've enjoyed that. It's a nice experience. And so, David, do you want to tell us a little bit about the farmer's market and your involvement in the farmer's market?
Mm-hmm. That's what I was doing pretty much all summer. As soon as I was done working at the Christian Village or over at Sorrento's, I'd get up at 1 a.m. on Friday morning and Saturday morning and just basically bake my brains out for about 8-10 hours, and then take all that down to everything I baked down to the county fairgrounds and set up a booth there and just sold my bread. And that's what I've been doing since April when it started? May, something like that.
Well, it's a really nice experience.
It's lovely
just
out
walk
there.
through there, and you can pick up some real nice goodies as you wander around there. Mm-hmm. A cook that I think of as Sue Ann Gillen, she's quite a cook in her own right, and she markets her products out there, among many, many others. And so it's an experience for people to enjoy.
Oh yeah, they've really made a good thing of it out there. Like they go out of their way to promote it to the community and have events and whatnot, and make it an event, much more so than the previous farmers market ever was. Because I actually did the farmers market when it was still down at Latham Park years ago. I was 10 or 12 years old. And back then, you could just show up with a pan of brownies, a dozen eggs, and a green pepper and just sell whatever. But then Illinois stepped in. They decided, oh, no, we got to regulate this. And then there was some drama with those farmers markets, and it kind of fell apart. So we didn't have anything there for a while. So it was really nice to see the hospital come in and, really make something out of it.
Yeah, they really have. I observe the cars as I drive by. I think it's pretty well attended.
Oh, yeah.
Cooking is your vocation. You have an avocation, and it's watches.
Yeah.
So I'd like to digress,
Mr.
Mr. Kirby, just a minute. Let him talk about his avocation.
Yeah, I've over the past year or so, along with baking my brains out, I've also been more than a little bit obsessed with mechanical pocket watches and wristwatches, like more than a little. I don't.
That's what I call a watch nut.
Yeah, I don't even want to know what I've spent on over on eBay picking up old watches and taking them apart and repairing them, and all that goes into that, breaking so many of them in the process. Yeah, that's I guess that's my escape plan if the whole baking thing doesn't pan out. I'm just gonna go to watch school and become a horologist. So we'll see. In the meantime, I just got a bench covered with screwdrivers and tweezers and parts and stuff, so that maybe I'll get around to actually putting everything back together at some point.
That's a different. Bradley University used to have a course in horology way back here. I have no idea whether that still goes on now or not, but I know a guy who went to Bradley to be a horologist. That is a different connotation to something.
Yeah.
But this being a family show,
let's just leave that one be.
Seriously, you took a look at a watch that I bought in the Azores Islands during the war.
Yeah,
and
I love
you were able to run back the history of that watch, and I thought that was quite interesting.
You got that one back in what, like the 50s, wasn't it? The Azores?
Late 40s, yeah.
Late 40s, 50s, yeah. That's just a cool little one. Was it? That was a Bulova or Bulova? Was it?
Bulova.
Yeah, yeah. That's a charming little watch. It's absolutely filthy. One of these days, I gotta get that thing and clean it for you. But yeah, you could tell that's one of the coolest things I find about it is just that it's such a delicate precision piece of equipment, but it'll keep going for literally 100 years. How many times you had to get that thing taken down and cleaned or whatever? Yeah. Never. Yeah, it's crazy.
What is the most popular dish that you put out for the folks at the Christian Village?
Most popular.
Coconut cream pie at night, I guess.
Well, yeah.
according to our caller,
we've got some people that are very enthusiastic about the coconut cream pie. As far as dessert go, it'd probably be a toss-up between that or maybe the Robert Redford dessert. That's just like layers of chocolate and cream cheese and pudding and all that. It's a good time right there. Main dishes, probably, again, lasagna. It's right up there. I know anytime we do a special meal, people get all excited about that. I did corn dogs for the county fair. I think we went through like 40 of those. Meatloaf too. That's always a popular one. Yeah, it's kind of funny. A lot of the stuff that we serve out there is what most people would call comfort food. But it occurs to me that to most of the people that I'm actually serving, it's not so much comfort food as it is just food that they would have eaten back in the day. So the grandchild's comfort food is the grandparents' everyday food. It's kind of funny how that works out.
Yeah, so we were talking about watches, and on the subject of time, I know just personally at home, we've got so many things in our refrigerator with so many different expiration dates that we have to keep track of. Best by, eat by this date, it expires by this date. I imagine in a facility such as yours, that's quite a challenge to keep up with what ingredients you have and when you have to use what by and things like that.
Oh yeah. As soon as we take something out of the package or take it out of the freezer or whatever, as soon as we do that, it has a 7-day expiration date. So everything that we put back in the fridge, we gotta write today's date on it and the day that it has to go out. And yeah, it's constantly a challenge having to juggle. We've got this, that, or the other thing. Is there anything that we can use it for? Do we even want to save this because it's something that we can use? Or so. Like for example, if we have we make pork chops one day and we've got some of those extra, I'll save those because that's something I can throw in the vegetable soup. Obviously we're not just taking our leftovers and reheating them and serving them or anything. If we're gonna use anything like that, we're gonna turn it into another dish.
Lloyd, it occurs to me that 7-day expiration date is something I want to write down and put on my refrigerator. With leftovers you bring home from restaurants. Because then the first thing you know, 10 days has gone by and maybe you ought not to be doing that.
Yeah. I took a risk on a steak not too long ago, and it was more than 7 days. I was like, that's such a nice steak, I'm just going to go for it. Oh, maybe that was a mistake.
Turned your steak into a mistake.
Now, you have to... Do you shop, or does Julie shop for special bargains as they try to keep your inventory up? For instance, we have Cisco Foods right here in Lincoln, Illinois. That's quite a food purveyor, among other things. And do we use people like Cisco and that type of? Where do you go for your foods?
Well, we do GFS at the Gordon Food Service at the Christian Village. I don't know why we don't go through Cisco. It seems like that would be a little more practical, but what do I know? But the system for GFS is kind of nice because that anytime you're a restaurant or institution like this or whatever, you set up a contract with the food service people and basically say, okay, here's what we're going to use on a regular basis. We're not going to use any of this stuff, and just can we have a price based specifically on what we're going to use? And so they'll say, well, we know that you're going to buy a lot of beef, so we'll take $1 off a pound for the beef. Or we know you're not going to buy liver pate, so we won't bother with that. And so you just work out this contract with a salesperson, and then you can get your own special pricing off of whatever you have to order.
Now, Thanksgiving is coming up rather quickly.
Oh, yes.
Unfortunately, rather quickly. How long in advance will you be planning the Thanksgiving menus out there? Like now? Honestly,
yeah, probably. Like I said, right now I'm kind of focused on the Oktoberfest thing. But yeah, Thanksgiving, it doesn't require too much planning, more just we want to know how many.
There.
Yeah, real traditional Thanksgiving. The main thing we need to know is just how many people are going to show up, so we know how many turkeys to buy. Holidays are funny because you both have a lot more people showing up, and they usually bring family members when they do, but you also have a lot more people going out and going, traveling for the holiday. So it's like sometimes it'll be really busy, sometimes it'll be, a lot more dead. So it just depends on how the year goes and who's going where.
648-5510. Our guest this morning, Mr. David Carter, a very interesting gentleman who has avocations as well as vocations, responsible for older people living at the Christian Village of getting good nutrition day in and day out.
Absolutely. So you mentioned the Oktoberfest meal and Thanksgiving. I'm imagining the Christmas holidays are also a pretty involved, elaborate time for you as far as things going on out there in meal planning?
Yeah, Christmas. It's not too dissimilar from Thanksgiving as far as the menu goes. The main difference is that past several years I've been going out of my way to make a bunch of fruitcake. I know some of our younger people might turn up their noses at that, but it's always a big hit out there.
It's got a longer shelf life, though, right?
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Well, I don't make a boozy fruitcake, so as far as that goes, it's a pretty tame as far as fruitcake goes, but it is dang good stuff. I think a lot of people, younger people, just don't know what they're missing. Other than that, what do we do for Christmas? We do the ham. We'll do some cheesy potatoes. We'll do some kind of a fancy dessert. We'll do the whole thing.
And it's not true that you don't flavor with alcohol.
How's that? I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, which brings a personal thing. When my mother resided at the Christian homes, she wouldn't let them put their laundry away. The girls would do their laundry for those folks in the congregate building, and they'd bring it back, and Mother wouldn't let them touch it because she had her whiskey bottle in her lingerie drawer, and she had every night she had a little bit of it.
Wow.
We have a call, sir?
Yeah, I think we've got another caller on the line, so
Go right ahead, caller.
10 years ago, I was working full-time in the Alzheimer unit leading activities, which is a job I loved and lost because they spent too much money on remodeling and got rid of all of us that were doing activities back there. But anyway, what I want to talk to you about, at that time I was also helping with volunteers, and the woman who was in charge of the kitchen would put on frozen little squares of frozen beef at 8:30 in the morning and expect that to be done in time for dinner. Neither the residents nor the volunteers could chew those little chunks of meat. And I am wondering if you're still serving that and if somebody has found that you can cook it sooner.
Yeah,
Carter, there you go.
that sounds like that's the main building, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I've not had a lot of involvement with that kitchen. I mean, it can be good food, but I'm not gonna say it's as good as the stuff that we make over at the congregate. As far as the beef goes, I really couldn't say whether or not they still do that particular one. I get the impression that they've actually have been improving some stuff out there. But yeah, they could use a little more improvement, I think.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for calling. It's another important, interesting part of it. Go right ahead, David. What are you planning for this Thanksgiving? The traditional turkey and that sort of thing?
Yeah, keep it pretty traditional. I'll do, let me think. Probably the turkey, mashed potatoes and gravy, dressing. I mean, honestly, I'm probably gonna stick pretty close to that. Maybe I'll do something with like a cranberry relish or something. I know John Longabomb, when he still worked out there, he was famous for his cranberry relish. He's retired now. I kind of stepped into his shoes a little bit a couple of years back.
John was good at what he did when he worked with us there.
Yeah, everybody loved John. He finally retired after working there more like 30 years, I think. Of course, he worked at the what was it? The Tropics. He worked there quite a bit back in the day, and then came out to the Christian Village after that. But yeah, I love that guy. So yeah, I think that's about all I'm gonna do for Thanksgiving.
you mentioned before about how, especially during the holidays, some people will be traveling and others will have family. And how do you like poll the residents to see who's going to be around, or how do you get an idea of how many people will be there so you know how much food to make?
We'll put out a sign-up sheet just so we can know, these people are going, these people are staying, they're going to have 6 extra guests, whatever. Definitely helps out a lot as far as the planning goes. And then the same goes for Christmas. And sometimes the same goes for the special meals, although those generally I just plan on there being a lot of people. And then I guess this month we are going to be having an outdoor cookout here, like the last one for the season, later this week. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's a lot of work to go to. Now it's a big job, Loyd, for him to bring that grill down from the Concord building to the gazebo. But it's a very pleasant experience for those of us who enjoy it. Gets us outdoors, gets us off our chairs, which is important.
I love doing it just because it's not just the people in the congregate building, it's all the people from out in the village itself, all the duplexes and bungalows and whatnot. And a lot of people I don't really see all that often. And everybody gets to come out and do, pass the dish around, and they get to, hang out, and yeah, it's just a good time. I'm just hoping that we'll still get to do it this week because the weather's skewing a little chillier, but we'll probably just put a note.
Well, right now it's about perfect.
Yeah.
648-5510. We just have a couple of minutes left. David Carter has been kind enough to give of his time this morning. He's chomping a bit to get back to the kitchen over there because he's got a schedule. We have lunch coming up here soon. David, do you have any comments you'd like to make as we close here?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, if you're looking to, you got someone in your family that's looking to move into, a senior apartment kind of a thing or a nursing home, you could do a lot worse in the Christian Village, that's for sure. Talk to Julie King about it. She'll be more than likely to set you up and all that. And maybe you'll get to try some of my chocolate chip cookies.
Thank you very much, David Carter. Loyd, thank you for sitting in and helping us out this morning. We appreciate that very much. Hope you enjoyed Viewpoint. We'll be back next week to come up with a special guest. Thank you very much.